Live, hopefully. Ah. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Andrew Jenkins, and welcome to Leaders Live. And this is a short countdown time to help the various feeds catch up and settle down. And we just hope we're live this week. We had a disaster last week, and apologies if you dialed in last week and weren't able to get us. We weren't able to go live for whatever reason. So hopefully we're live now. And yeah, so there we go. We can't wait for today's groovy show, and we're going to be hanging out with Leaders Live guest, Dr. Julian Nesbitt, who's been on the show a couple of times, actually. No, this is his second time, sorry. And Dr. Julian is a scale-up and health business expert, chatting about the virtues and vices of ChatGPT. Ooh, that deserves a... ooh. And yeah, we're going to gain some insights about ChatGPT to see whether we'll all be out of a job and mowing the lawn every day. Who knows? Or stacking shelves in Sainsbury's, although that'll probably done by robots. So there you go. And so that's where we go. We're looking at ChatGPT and now Bard as well, and how to unlock the power of AI for your business. So give us a quick wave, Julian. A quick hello.
Hello.
Brilliant. Thank you, Julian. And we've got Mrs. Moderator Sarah Jenkins in the room as well.
Morning.
Morning. So there we go. And so with Julian, me, Sarah, Ghost our sponsors and Marketing CX in the background doing the comments. Hopefully that's our team, folks. Wow. And here's our intro. Boom, there we go. Well, oi people, and hi gang, it's Leaders Live showtime, folks, and we're on live this time, yay! Which is brilliant. Live, says Kieran. I think this might be Kieran. And Rebecca, good morning as well. And yes, please tell us that you're on live and you're here with us. We'd love to hear from you. And there's lots of people joining, so that's all good. Loads of people joining, actually. Fantastic. Let's hear from you, please. So it's just after 8:45 a.m. here in the UK, and we are live. Yeah. Spreading the love, folks, spreading the love. Yabba dabba do. And we hope you enjoyed our groovy opener as well, gang, for those of you that are new. And we're delighted that we're being powered by our sponsors, brand and design agency Ghost. We'll talk about them a little bit later, just so you know. And please let us know if our audio's coming through okay. And I think it is, because we get loads of comments. So there we go. Got the coffee. Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. So if you're new to Leaders Live, a warm welcome to you. Leaders Live is a dynamic weekly talk show that generates business through networking, community, and extraordinary conversations that inspire. Whoa. And as I mentioned in the countdown, I'm Andrew Jenkins, and I host this interactive weekly Leaders Live show that's built an awesome community of like-minded leaders. There's billions of people joining the feed. That's fantastic. So we have three simple rules, folks. Three simple rules: a safe community, mutual respect, and please no selling in the room. And our motto is I to the power of we. And a really easy way you can support the massive amount of effort that we put into this show, including when it doesn't go live like it did last week, you can buy me a coffee from buymeacoffee.com, and the address is on the page. And this is how it works. When someone buys me a coffee, you get a little shout out with your name. It's all just a bit of fun, but it's a way that you can give back to the show as well. And all proceeds just go to new kit. That's all. So that's that. Smash those likes as well, folks, please. And give us a thumbs up too. We really appreciate that. Love that bell. Keeps us motivated as well. And this talk show enables you to listen to great content. But there's so much more when you subscribe to our email list, because you get leadership skills and teaching and value to equip you to lead well. And you get freebies and updates. What's not to like, folks? And I've got a coffee. Yay. Someone's bought me a coffee. Whoever you are, thank you very much. So thank you. Normally the name comes up in lights, but it didn't do this time. So whoever you are, thank you very much. To make it a real, so we've got a link tree with all our links in as well. And Sarah will pop that in the chat too. So, put it all together. What do you got? Bibbity, bobbity, poo. I love that. So let's bring on our guest this morning. Good morning, Dr. Julian, my mate, Dr. Julian. How you doing, Julian?
Yeah, morning, Andrew. Morning, everyone. Very well, thanks. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Good to be here.
Oh, great to have you here as well. So we've got a record number of people joining us at the moment, which is absolutely delightful. So get us going, Julian. Tell us briefly a little bit about your tech business, which is Dr. Julian Medical Group, and how you've kind of grown year to year, just very briefly, and you've become a national recognised brand across all the NHS trusts, and you're employing lots of staff and you augment therapists. So give us a little bit more of that detail for us so we understand how that fits into the GPT world, ChatGPT world.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so yeah, I'm a doctor by background. I still work a day a week as a GP. But I founded a mental health platform to try and improve access to mental health services, just because I saw how awful it was and how long people are waiting. So I use technology to just try and reduce the friction in that process. So the platform is a sort of end-to-end care pathway solution that connects you with therapists online, but also wraps the whole care around that. So able to give you access to self-help tools and resources that are personalized to you and can augment the therapist utilizing AI tools that are able to give you digitized homework between the sessions. So the idea is that
Brilliant.
we don't need as many sessions because you can utilize other tools as well. So to try and free up capacity of the issue that we have with the lack of capacity of therapists.
That's really interesting, isn't it? So there's a great business case already for things like ChatGPT and now Bard, of course, which we'll talk about later as well. And our chat today is all about how ChatGPT and now Bard can unlock the power of AI for your business. And a general term for that is they're just called AI chatbots, aren't they, Julian? Is that right?
Yes, yeah, from
Brilliant.
large language models. Yeah.
Okay, super. And Julian, I'm going to put you on the spot now because we haven't talked about this earlier. And I forgot to talk about this with you, but you've got an audience question to kick us off, haven't you, Julian? Or do you want me to say it if you haven't got it in front of you?
Yeah, you go for it. I haven't got this.
No problem.
So,
yeah. We like to put our guests on the spot, you see. So sorry about that. So Julian's question was, and I've got it just in front of me here. So here's a question for you guys. So how often do you use ChatGPT or other AI bots? But I think ChatGPT is really the only one available to us at the moment. So do you use it do you use it daily, weekly, monthly, or rarely, or never? Okay, so daily, weekly, monthly, rarely, or never. So that's our question from, interesting question. So yeah, there we go. So that's the question. Please interact with the question. How often do you use ChatGPT? And we'll come to that in a moment. There's a slight delay in the feed, but some of the feeds are already coming through. I can see there's lots of interaction today. Brilliant. Thank you. We'll come to those in a moment. Let's just quickly introduce Mrs. Moderator, Sarah Jenkins, in the room. How are you doing, Sarah?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing tech issues. So
Tech issues.
Paul Palmer, I was talking to you online, but it's easier. I'm actually going to do it face to face. I'm really sorry you're struggling on LinkedIn on your phone. Most other people, it seems okay. So it might be your signal area, but sorry you're not having a great experience. And Alan Giles, welcome, another new listener. We've got quite a lot of new people on here.
We have indeed. We have. Brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. So yeah, the chat's going absolutely mad.
Well, let's pick up some of those right now then, Sarah, while we're there.
Everything happening. So yeah, Greg Bell, I agree with his comment. Blew my mind. That's about where I'm at, I think.
Who said that? Who said about blew my
Greg
mind?
Bell.
Okay. Oh,
so
right.
Lots of comments. So I think it's going to be a very interactive, interesting show this morning, Julian.
Yeah, here we go. Greg Bell blew my mind, to be honest. Sorry, Julian, carry on.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what we want: interaction and questions, and sort of have more of a debate around it.
Yeah. So it looks like there's loads of stuff going on. Weekly, daily, Sarah, all sorts of things.
Yeah, lots. Some people never used it at all. So I think for me, it's just like 3 months ago, it was like something, a bit of background noise. Oh, have you heard about this? And now suddenly it's everywhere, and it's just exploding, totally exploding. It's amazing.
Yeah. When Julian was on the show first time, Julian, you mentioned ChatGPT to me at that point. I think that might have been in November or something. I can't remember when you were on live last, but it was only a few months ago, right? And you said, "Oh, have you seen this ChatGPT?" I didn't even know what it was until you showed it to me, and my God, it blew my mind. So, and apparently, in less than 5 days, it got 1 million subscribers. I mean, that's just a world record, right? No one's ever done that before. So there we go.
Yeah, fastest growing subscriber ever.
Fastest growing subscriber ever. Yeah. So there we go. So constantly through the day, people are saying, I tried using ChatGPT yesterday for the first time. There we go. Any other thoughts you want to just pick up quickly, Sarah, before we move on?
No, I think let's get going.
Let's get going. That's fine. Okie dokie. So let's get back to Julian again. And just before you begin, let's just give you a round of applause. Hey, there you go. Feel the love, Julian. Hope you love the groovy build-up. So, quick question for you. Our first question. So, look, we've heard so much about ChatGPT in the news, and now Bard apparently as well. And what exactly are these things? What are chatbots, and how do they work? And what's the transformation here, Julian? Take it away for us.
Sure. So yeah, there's now an arms race for them, so that's why
An
Bard has come
arms
out.
race. Yeah.
The so they're basically a thing called a large language model. So what happens is we've finally got to a stage now where they're actually working from the training and the data that they've had over the last sort of 5 years or so. What happens is, so ChatGPT is based around the fact that it's analyzed everything on the internet, all of the words and possibilities on the internet. And what happens is basically an algorithm, a learning model that says, what is the probability of the next letter or the next word after the words / letters that preceded it?
Wow.
And over time, it's become way more conversational. So essentially, by looking at everything that's happened on the internet, and being able to analyze billions and billions of words, it's gone, what's the probability of having this next word before that one? And it's just a learning model around that. There is then also a bit of what they call alchemy around that, where
Alchemy.
it then it can use the probability of the next word, and it ranks that probability of what that next word is. And it can therefore actually use some of the words that are a little bit less probable, but still there. And therefore that allows it to create new responses each time that you ask it the same question.
Wow. My gosh. Oh, we got another coffee. Oh, Stefan Wetterlin bought me 5 coffees. Wow. Thank you very much, Stefan. You get a free coaching session with that. So I'll be in contact with you later. Thank you very much. So, yeah, very interesting that. And, I've got to ask, is ChatGPT 4, there's ChatGPT 3.5 and there's ChatGPT 4, which is the new version, isn't it? And it's the paid version. But is this now old news with Bard by Google coming free online about now? What say you, Julian?
Yeah, so that's the arms race. Interestingly,
Arms race.
ChatGPT was based off a model that Google had created, but they went far further with it and analyzed way more data. So, and then over time, it also just gets better and better and better because it's learning all the time, right? So it's AI that continues to learn,
Wow.
and it gets feedback from moderators to say this is correct, this is not correct, and they've been hiring experts in all different fields, medicine, etc., to train this model better. So that the incorrect answers, it's told those are incorrect and these are the correct ones, so it constantly learns and evolves. Bard is the one that they've released from Google because of when ChatGPT just exploded onto the market, they were like, wow, oh my God, we need to hurry up and create one. Elon Musk is also trying to do one as well. There's all sorts of, the big players that are suddenly going, oh my God, you can't have one player in that. And there's also, and well, OpenAI is the company that founded ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's right.
But there's also an AI coming out that is able for anyone to build on as well. So freely available AI.
Wow.
And that's quite interesting and exciting because basically anyone in the world can then create their own AI based around what they need for either their business or whatever they want it to do. So they're giving freely open. It's called open source AI. So
Open source.
it's really an interesting time. Yeah, it's really an interesting era and time. And over the next year, there's going to be a lot of new apps, etc., coming out utilizing this background AI, these AI tools.
Yeah, wow. So watch this space, folks. Open source AI, and that just sounds brilliant that it becomes open to the general public. And I love the idea of that, and I fully support all of those things. I heard that Bard recently launched in 100 odd countries. It's not yet in the EU and the UK yet, but presumably it's going to get rolled out at some point. And Microsoft are one of the biggest investors in actually, that's in ChatGPT, I think. Is it? Or is that is that Bard? I can't remember which one. I think it's ChatGPT. Microsoft.
Yeah, they put billions into ChatGPT.
10 billion apparently.
Well, it was interesting when they came out because it was all supposed to. Well, OpenAI originally was was Elon Musk with the other founders, but he actually left it. And the idea was that it was
Ah,
supposed to be ethical AI, because people like
yeah.
Elon Musk were very, very anti. Well, they were very concerned about AI. He's actually got like a reading list of books on the dangers of potential, of AI, and it was all supposed to be around creating the most powerful ethical one. But yes, so I say Bard's come out to sort of try and compete with that. So you've got Microsoft versus Google in a sense, that's happening. So
Brilliant. Okay, and there's some stuff in the chat about ChatGPT and Bard, so we'll come to those in a moment. We did this poll the other day as well, just to move things on a little bit, about the benefits of using ChatGPT. And here we go. Here's the poll. So we did this last week, I think this went out. So it's due to close very shortly. It went like hotcakes, this little poll. So what have you used the all-new AI ChatGPT for so far? And we've got seeking information and answers, 35%, generating new creative ideas, 31%, for fun and entertainment, 16%, and what is it? Don't use it, 19, 18%. What say you to that poll, Julian?
yeah, so it's interesting, isn't it? There's
Mm.
there's a good spread there, almost equal spread. Well, there we go. So yeah, it can be used for all of those things and more. I mean, if you haven't played with it, I would play with it. It's incredible. It's it's very interesting. There's all
Isn't it?
sorts of use cases for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I even used it taking a picture of my fridge, and it came up with recipes of what was in my
Wow.
fridge. So
Now, hang on a minute. Let's just pause there for a moment. So you took a picture of your fridge and you put it onto
yeah.
ChatGPT, and ChatGPT not only was able to look in your fridge via the photograph, and then also determine what was there. Did you have to put any text to that, or did it just sort of sort it out through a photograph?
So it's advanced itself now to actually
Wow.
recognize things and what they are, and then putting those together in different combinations and what the probability is of those combinations to come up with various recipes. So I was sort of coming up with recipes myself and then challenging it to come up with, and it came with some of the same recipes, which I found very interesting.
Isn't that amazing? So, if you've got one tomato left in your fridge and a moldy old piece of cheese, it will come out with a recipe for you. That is astonishing, actually, isn't it? Now, someone said to me the other day, it was actually on the poll, some of the comments on the poll was, one user said, well, look, actually, ChatGPT doesn't create any new ideas at all. It just rehashes old ideas and often cliche ideas, and it packages them and offers them up to people who don't have the depth of experience to see the difference. It has its uses, but for creativity, it's the emperor's new clothes. That was his thought. What say you to that? Because I'm hearing something very different.
Yeah, no, in a sense that's correct, because it's analyzed the data from the previous year on the internet basically, and it keeps updating itself on. So as you say, it could be that it looked at what everyone else has said in the past. However, a slight caveat to that is, from what I was saying around probabilities of the next word, because it utilizes this mechanism of probability, it comes up with new ideas because it kind of puts those words in a different structure and format. So it is able to actually come up with new ideas, which is why that can be quite interesting, because it's not just reciting what was previously written. It was working out probabilities of different words based on a whole group of text, so it can come up with new words. That's why if you put the same question in multiple times, it can come up with different answers.
Yeah,
that are different wording of the answer. That's interesting, and there's so many different use cases for it, which we could go into.
Yeah, I mean, I because this is about ChatGPT, the teaser that I used for this one, I asked ChatGPT to generate the teaser. Now, whilst I had to manipulate it a little bit, I was astonished at how well it did I think I tried it 2 or 3 times to get what I felt was a right approach, and I amalgamated what I thought was decent then. So there was a bit of time that I spent to make it more betterer, as it was, using a Leaders Live phrase. But I was astonished at how well it did just on simple questions, to do that. And it recognised what a live stream is and recognised what a teaser is. And my gosh, I was astonished by that. Let's give you a quick break for a moment. Mrs. Moderator, what's going on in the chat?
Oh my goodness, there is so much going on in the chat. Really, really interesting. So Andy Gray says he uses Bard regularly in the
regularly. Yeah.
UK, so it is available in the
I
UK.
didn't
So
know that. Yeah.
we are just about scratching the surface. Andrew, that's the wrong comment. Don't put those up. It's
Got that.
confusing.
Yep. Yep. Sorry,
Stop it.
just testing. Sorry, I've just been told off, folks.
Imran Pasha says, are there any regulations around how open
Ah,
source AI is used?
yeah. Let's tackle that
And
in a moment.
yeah,
Yeah.
Andy comments that obviously that is what America are already starting to wonder.
Yeah. Yeah.
What happens if AI becomes a thing that's impossible to regulate and people have their own systems and servers? As
Yeah.
very interesting one. What do you think about that one, Julian?
I mean, we were going to come on to regulation. It's probably the most important thing in this because it can just spiral out of control, can't it? So, in fact, there was an article this morning. I think the founder of OpenAI was in the Senate the other day, talking about the regulation and ethical considerations. And how to I think the biggest problem now is just they have no idea how to regulate it. So we're having, we're going to have to put structures and frameworks in place for what is ethical and what is not, because it has a huge potential to be abused, right? So it can create malware. I mean, there was one example where it could recreate Vladimir Putin's voice to say that we're going to nuke bomb everyone. So, there's huge potential issues with it. So it's a case that we have to put structures and frameworks around it. I mean, when they were building OpenAI, they did put in certain rules. So, it can't have bullying behavior, etc. Or, so they're able to put rules into it of what it's allowed to do. But these things could spiral out of control very quickly. So I think they're putting in a large task force now, or they're saying that they need to do that to put in proper rules in place to regulate it. And then I think before anything can be released, there has to be the regulatory frameworks there in place beforehand. And I guess this is going to be a continually evolving thing. And as it's going so quickly, it's going to, it's hard, but I think, it's very important. And I guess that's why people like Elon Musk were very scared of it, because it has the potential to just spiral out of control very quickly.
Yeah, as we're seeing already, with the Senate already, yesterday that was apparently, that was yesterday's news where the Senate were querying the CEO of Open, what are they called? Open source, is it? Or have I got that mixed up?
That was OpenAI,
OpenAI,
ChatGPT
ChatGPT, yeah. So, this is serious stuff when the Senate are already asking those kind of questions, and it's accelerating so quickly. It'll be interesting to see. I think one of my biggest fears about it, and we'll come on to pitfalls in a moment, but, is fake news and fraud, as you said, malware and things like that.
Correct. Yeah, huge potential for fraud, potential for abuse, etc.
Yeah.
And fraudsters coming up with new ways of how to create better scams, etc. So you can use it for that.
Yeah, and interestingly, can you tell that there's a human being behind it? That's another interesting thing. So, each human being has their own story that's running in their heads every day, and this is what Andy Gray and I were talking about yesterday. Actually, we had a conversation. He's on the line now, and we were saying, gosh, with AI, what kind of voice is going on in the background? There isn't one. So, actually you can mimic any human behavior, which is quite frightening, really. We run around with a model that says Julian's, Andrew's, Andrew, and Sarah's, Sarah, et cetera, et cetera. We can tell who people are because, of our human traits, as it were, and our combination of habits and beliefs and attitudes and all those things that make us the human being that we are. And yet here we've got something that can mimic anything at any time.
I think the scary thing is that it's suddenly with ChatGPT 3 as compared to the other ones before it, it's suddenly worked out how to be more human-like. So it's come up with a way of it's come up with the sort of way that we speak, the way that we, the way that we are. That's what's scary about it, is that it does sound like a human now, and it's only learning all the time to get better. And even now, you could ask it to be a human that has this personality trait, and it will come up with words.
Yeah, or a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or something. Yeah, so it's past the Turing test, then, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge number of limitations still around it, but yes, it's learning all the time.
Let's quickly go back to Sarah and see what else is in the feed. There's a few questions which might be useful just to pick up right now. So, Sarah, anything else in the feed that we can pick up as a question? You're on mute, Sarah.
There we go. Thought it took me off mute. Didn't press the button hard enough.
You're
Those famous phrase. You're on mute.
on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, Greg Bell. How does copywriting work with ChatGPT if you lift and publish it?
Yeah.
And talking about plagiarism, homework for kids.
Yeah.
Get
Exams.
ChatGPT to write your homework. I just think it's
Okay.
we're just scratching the surface of how it is going to impact life in
Yeah.
life as we know it, I suppose.
It comes down to regulation. How do you stop that? How do you enforce that kids shouldn't be using it for their homework, etc.? Copyright. I mean, I know people using it for blogs all the time, but although that there are limitations with it, so it's not necessarily as creative as the human brain yet. And yes, but
Yet.
as you said,
Interesting. Interesting.
Comment from Ashley Alderson finds using a combination of Bard and GPT the best.
Oh, interesting.
Last time they checked, GPT wasn't connected to the internet, but that might have changed now. But Bard is.
Yeah.
So Bard for research and GPT for actually writing the ideas and generating them. So this looks like we're not just going to use one or the other, are we? It's but it's definitely here to stay, and it's just going to change things completely.
It's going to change our world. Yeah. I mean, interestingly, in fact, let's just go on to that question now. So, we talked a little bit about, what people are using it for and the threats and things. So let's just talk a little bit more about that. So, when we think about ChatGPT or Bard or any chatbot for that matter, what are the we talked about some of the threats. What are the opportunities here for us? For us business folk that are listening, we've talked all about some of the regulation problems and the pitfalls. What are your thoughts in terms of its benefits? Let's go there for a while.
Yeah. We say we can also link that to sort of threat, like opportunities and threats. So
indeed,
in every sort of industrial revolution, right, the world is progressing actually at a faster rate, which I think is interesting. But in every industrial revolution, people have lost jobs, but also it's created opportunities. So, when the mills came, people lost their jobs. But actually, I think as the world accelerates, there are more different types of jobs that at a higher level that we can do. So the idea is that we can take away more mundane jobs and we can actually accelerate faster and become better because we are freeing up our more creative and sort of the more human-based tasks that we can do to allow that AI to do all of the mundane stuff. And actually, as a doctor, right, I don't want to be doing the mundane stuff. If I can get it to write my notes for me, that's brilliant because I have then more time to focus on the patient, etc. So, and there's sort of you can extrapolate that use case across multiple things. So if you find it, it depends. If you love doing the mundane, boring stuff, then that job is unfortunately probably will be more replaced by. But it will require more of a sort of lateral thinking and what other. I always think if your time is freed up, time is the most precious thing we have in the world, right? And if your time gets freed up, then you can do more other things with that time. And there's always other things to do. So it's not going to replace the human being and everything. It's just going to be something different that human being will do. And actually, we don't necessarily know what that is yet. And that's the same in every industrial revolution where people think, oh my God, this is going to get rid of my job. But guess what? People found new jobs and new skills, which allow the world to progress.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, 1992, 93, when the internet was first sort of brought out into the public world, people thought that, that would be the end of their jobs. And yet, it's created a whole bunch of new ones. So, and who knows where that might go. Interesting what you mentioned. I love the way you mentioned about augmenting and advancing human consciousness. Here's an opportunity for us folks, thinking about this for a moment from a bold statement is, our children and potentially us as well, because this is advancing so quickly, this is an opportunity to advance consciousness across the world, and make us better as human beings, not worser, but much better. I'd love to see that. And I think that makes sense to me. And, we shouldn't be Luddites, thinking about the first industrial revolution. We're now in the fourth or fifth industrial revolution. So there we go. So, yeah, I like the idea of, you're writing your notes, but it can probably be smarter as well in triaging stuff for you as a doctor.
Loads of people are using it to sort of, firstly, as a caveat, it shouldn't be used because it's still not powerful enough in medicine, etc. And there's you have to check everything it does. because it's not, but it does help with certain things. So it can help to, I mean, for instance, well, in medicine, right, as a doctor, there is a huge supply and demand problem. So if we can
Absolutely.
utilize AI to free up some of my time, it means that I can have more time with the patients. The same with what my business is doing.
Yeah.
Trying to, I'm still, but I still believe the human is incredibly important,
Yeah.
because we are human beings at the end of the day, and human connection, emotion, empathy. So AI does not have very much empathy. It's not a human being. It's just creating probabilities of random things. So empathy and human connection is incredibly important. But some of the things around that, and the processes, etc., that need to be done could be you could utilize AI for. One use case is like, if you go to your doctor and the doctor gives you a load of information, where do you then store? You haven't got a way of like, okay, I'll Google it later, but you might get the wrong thing. So with AI, you could like extrapolate all of that in an easy to understand format, and it could be given to that patient further on. Because I know in my 10 minutes, I haven't got time to like give people the right info, and maybe you're splurging information that no one actually takes in. So it's a
Yeah.
case of utilizing it in the right way.
Maybe you could even have a three-way conversation. So you've got ChatGPT going on in the background and listening to the conversation and joining in. I mean, who knows how this thing will. So you actually get a critical, friend, as it were, that's helping you diagnose. Yeah, that could be a possibility. I'm thinking about
I can't
legal issues.
remember everything.
No,
Yeah,
totally,
and
totally.
so it's helpful to sort of have, and you can utilize it as your ally in terms of checking things that you're doing.
Yeah,
But I think, from a GP perspective, what's interesting is actually the majority of what a GP does is around empathy and being the one that listens and being a human being there. Anyone now can look up symptoms, etc., but you have
correct.
to sort of extrapolate the symptoms and put into context of what those symptoms are. So ChatGPT hasn't got that sort of contextual ability yet. So and it probably won't have, because it's
Thank God
not
for that.
that's not what AI does, and
Yeah,
it hasn't got the empathy, etc. So I think what you need to use it for is to help you and to augment and to check
totally,
your understanding and to
totally.
analyze. You know, I'm just using medicine as a use case, but this can be extrapolated across all sorts of
Yeah,
industries to, because as a human, you can't remember everything about everything. So why not use AI to sort of
yeah.
check your,
Prompt you.
data out there, etc.
Prompt you. Yeah, I mean, the legal matters could be absolutely brilliant for ChatGPT, because it's an absolute brilliant use case for that. So, I mean, that would be interesting to see how that affects, the future of our legal system. And things like that. And
Yeah.
as you said, the whole point is to elevate consciousness, to elevate our connectivity with other people, to give us empathy and sort of analysis smarts. And that helps us to be better human beings. Let's just give you a break for a minute. So, Sarah, what's going on in the chat? Have we got any more sort of interesting? There's
Oh,
loads
we've got
going on.
loads.
My gosh, yeah.
There's various chat about kids hopping onto Chat GPT and
Yeah.
parents going, you can't use it, will you, Mum? Um, but I
Yeah.
think the general thing, kids are a lot more savvy
Yeah.
and pick this stuff up so much quicker. Matthias is, I'm just going to read this
Morning,
out because it's
Matthias.
really interesting. Laurie, kids may have more knowledge than we think. An 11-year-old in Bergen managed to hack into the municipality's inhabitants register, accessing sensitive information. He reported it to the cybersecurity services and didn't believe him because he was so young. So he hacked into it again to prove them right. We underestimate our kids sometimes, and I think because it's a bit scary to think how much more about this stuff they know. Because let's face it, what start off as computer games, and they're just like sponges. So this sort of stuff to them is like it. Yeah, I think the regulation side of things is going to be massive because
Massive.
it has, massive implications.
Yeah, I've just
I
seen
think
this comment from Jim,
I was
Sarah.
just about to come
Yeah.
up with that.
Yeah,
If
look at
you let me do my job,
that.
talking about it, coming up with ideas and
Mm,
creativity. Jim's comment is that actually over time, genuine original creativity will become more valuable.
love
Yeah,
that.
I think it's great for doing all the background stuff, but as you said, Julian, it will give you all the information, but then when you interpret it and use it, and it's what you do with it then that is going to become the real valuable side of things.
I think we're human beings. We need other
Mm.
human beings, connection with another human being, right? So that's never going to be replaced.
Yeah, Jonas makes an interesting comment, actually. One problem about using ChatGPT in a medical scenario is patient confidentiality. So whatever we write can be read, by developers, etc. So yeah, that's an interesting point that I guess that again there will be controls around.
Regulation controls exactly around that.
Yeah, and it's advancing so fast that I wonder whether we'll be able to keep up with it. That'll be interesting. And the whole ethical
Data security.
Yeah,
Yeah.
data security, ethics, all of those kind of things. I mean, you mentioned earlier about the voice recognition of Putin and fraud and malware and things. So these are all the contentions that we need to deal with. And, you've sort of picked on a little bit in terms of, health and well-being business, just pick up on that, in terms of helping human beings to, mental health is a big thing that we discuss on this show. And it's something that your business does very well. And you've built a whole scale-up business around making therapists accessible for human beings. How do you see AI augmenting that whole piece, in mental health structures?
Yeah. So yeah, my belief is augment, not replace. But we have a massive supply and demand problem, as I was saying before. So we do not have the capacity to deal with and the ever increasing number of mental health problems, of which actually ChatGPT might create more because again, we're more human connection that we need in the world, and we're all stuck to our phones. But yeah, so the idea then would be that you've got a human being there, but so what we're doing is using the AI to help the person when the therapist isn't there. So, i.e., the homework that a therapist sets.
The homework.
What the AI can do is actually understand the personality of that human being and what that human being likes doing, what works for them, etc. Everyone's different. You can't set homework for everyone. It has to be unique. And it can prompt and remind you to do things, and it can be your tool in your pocket that can, be your sort of or like your extension of your therapist, but there all the time. But then the therapist can train it to help you, and then you check in with your therapist. So that's kind of what my thinking is around. So let's free up more capacity. You might not need the therapist as much, or you need less sessions because you're complying with your homework. And one of the biggest things in mental health is complying, right? So at the moment, they send you homework on an email that doesn't get printed out or done because no one can, and likewise, how to actually comply with it and do it, because a lot of the time with people with mental health problem, it's really hard to do things. So if you could have something to help you to do that, and the AI can be there all the time to do that, and it can sort of be an extension. I think that to me is an interesting concept.
Yeah, completely agree. What an interesting concept that is. And that whole thing on capacity, and I love the phrase you used, it's a tool in your pocket, and it can be used to advance, these sort of things. And I wonder whether it would give out punishments as well if you don't comply with your homework. Just a thought. No, who knows? Let's just quickly
I think someone with depression is the greatest, but
well, indeed,
get you into shape.
We're laughing about it, but it's a scary world that's coming up, and it's quite interesting to see what's going on in the chat, just to pick up on the recent things.
Just an interesting comment from Adele Hooton.
Yeah, hi Adele.
I'm concerned. We say we want to use it to help us, but how long until it's beyond our control? Fire probably scared a few cavemen when we found it. It helped humanity immensely, but when out of control is devastating. The conversation is bigger than what it can do for our work and business. It definitely is. I think, we're just scratching the surface here, just poking it about and seeing it's so new that it's worth a conversation. We're not saying it is just for work and business. We are very aware that we are literally just scratching the surface of this topic.
Nice one, Adele.
Just bringing it to people's attention.
But it comes back to having frameworks of which you can operate in, right? So you can't, to try and stop it from going out of control, you've got to sort of put it into a framework where it can't exceed that framework, I guess. So 100%, it's we don't quite know.
I just say
it's scary, isn't it?
To be done on the regulation side
Yeah.
of things.
We don't know
Um,
what we don't know, but it's good to be concerned. And I like Adele's comment, actually. I think that's really
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
interesting. Laurie and Mateus are having a bit of a laugh about, yes, kids are smart, but they do still need to learn the basics.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it might AI gives the information, but if you don't understand why things are written the way it's written, you have to start with the building blocks of learning, don't you? But there again, maybe kids will just learn in a different way.
Maybe kids will learn in a different way. Maybe it's going to challenge our university systems and our school systems and everything, So actually, that's probably not a bad thing, because I think those sort of learning systems do need updating. Learning by rote, for example, is a challenge that I would see, particularly in universities and schools. What say you, Julian?
It's out of well, education is slightly out of date now, isn't it? With some of the things it doesn't teach you how to have a conversation with someone or stand up and speak, but it will. Someone made a really interesting point about education recently, which was like, but pi equals this, and I was able to recite this, even though I could look this up immediately on my thing, but that's what my exam told me. But yeah, I'm not able to stand up and make a good public speech or understand how to do a mortgage or understand. So yeah, I think because of the internet and because of the advances that we don't necessarily have to memorize some of the stuff that I believe we have to understand the basics of maths, English, etc., etc. But I think the education system does need updating in a way.
Yeah, and we can have better
based on
bandwidth to do more smarter things, right? Even more smarter things. So yeah, that's where I think it'll be really amazing. And just picking up on Adele's comment, perhaps that's where and we'll come on to society question in a moment. Yeah, and maybe that's time to sort of go to that question. Actually, I'm just trying to sort of see how I can frame this. But how do you see chatbots and AI impacting society, Julian? We're just touching on that now. We've got a whole decade of this coming on. We've only just had this landing since November, and look what it's doing already. How do you see the rest of this decade playing out society-wise? Just picking up on Adele's comment about being concerned society-wise.
Yeah, so I think, as I was saying, it's like it's got the capacity to massively help human beings,
Yeah.
and help. But as I say, it will take away some of the mundane job tasks that are being done. So it will, I think and the scary thing, I think, is that how humans are advancing at a sort of exponential rate. And if you look at how tech does that, the more tech you have, the more we advance. So it's kind of hard to know, in a sense, where it's going to be. But I think we have to think of it as, I think we just have to keep it as a tool to help the human being, to free up more human beings' time. So we've talked about some of the use cases of it, right? So freeing up some of those mundane tasks, some of the admin tasks that could be done by it to help free up the human beings. I mean, yeah, what do you think, Andrew? Where do you think it's going to go?
I think it's going to revolutionize education. I think it's going to revolutionize the health sector. I think it's going to revolutionize the legal sector, in terms of what's available quickly, to human beings, to think more smartly, really, and gives us a fantastic opportunity to do something with our education system and, really, create that advancement in human behaviors, in human consciousness, how to play better with each other, even to access our human superpowers. If we're taking away some of the mundane tasks that give us, that provide fear for us and, too much cortisol in our body, as it were, and we can provide mechanisms to help people to learn to be smarter in the way they behave and the way they interact with the world, then, not just from an education point of view and from a knowledge point of view, but how we can be better human beings, and that in itself then enables us to collaborate smarter. And, I think that's the future. And I think this decade will see a massive increase in being able to collaborate, if we're not using it for bad purposes. It also got the opposite that could happen, a bit like the Matrix, red pill, blue pill. That's the red pill piece that I've just talked about. Wouldn't it be great if that was down the rabbit hole? That's what we found, rather than, pestilence and war and, exploitation, which is equally frightening. The big brother world could actually, implode on us. But I'm an optimist, and I think that actually there's some fantastic advancements that we're just on the cusp of. And in this early 21st century, we could see a massive breakthrough. Just hope the machines don't take over.
Yeah, and on that as well, like from a mental health perspective, we've got to be careful with how much we're using technology in a sense, because I keep coming back to the point that we're a human being, and what makes us happy actually is nature, human connection, purpose, etc. So I personally find that using too much technology is a very bad thing and can elevate anxiety, elevate things. So
Right. Yeah.
again, about limiting the usage of it as a human, because this modern world is why everyone has got a mental health problem, frankly, because we used to be running away from lions, and now we're just sitting on our phones, and all that anxiety, all that cortisol, etc., that was helpful when we were running away from lions, and your sympathetic nervous system is now being activated where you're not utilizing enough of that cortisol in running away from a lion, but you're getting it from a phone. So I think we've got to be careful as human beings to try and limit that, and work out a way that we can be happy with human connection and purpose again.
And creativity. There's another thing that I forgot to mention when you asked me that question. I think this gives us an opportunity as human beings to be incredibly creative. And, we're only just really scratching the surface on creativity. For the whole of the 20th century, we weren't allowed to be creative because it didn't earn you money, right? And yet as human beings, we are inherently creative. And I think this does give us the opportunity to do that. And hopefully it'll give us the opportunity to get off our phones as well, and give us more bandwidth to think more creatively. But that's just my thoughts. Sarah,
Our brains,
sorry. Yeah. Go on, Julian. Sorry.
Our brains are incredible things. Our brains are incredible things, and they work completely differently to how AI works. So, if we can free up our brain to do other things, who knows where it'll
go? Yeah, it could be just a genesis of a whole new thing for us as human beings. But maybe I'm just being over optimistic there. The holy grail rather than the holy moly. Oh my gosh, what's happening to us? So just a thought. Sarah, what's going on?
Lots today, so apologies if I don't sort of pull off anything that you said specifically. Jonas made the comment really that you were saying, Julian, that and one of the problems is that if you have people who don't find it easy talking to real people, that they just then use AI as their kind of invisible friend, and they become more and more distant. And I think that is a very real concern. As you say, we're so fixated on our technology and using it all the time that we forget, actually it's really healthy to put it down. And I think mental health wise, there is, the more technology we have, as you said, the more anxiety is created, and the more we're just on 24 hours a day, and it's not helpful.
No, indeed.
Yeah,
it's not
constantly comparing ourselves. We're constantly comparing ourselves to others, the FOMO that creates, etc. I mean, I think with the whole potential metaverse as well, where you can go on holiday in your living room, then there's no actual challenge, or the whole part of the holiday is the adventure to go there, the excitement, blah blah blah. So that will get rid of all of that and actually cause huge mental health problems, is what I think anyway. But
I think it's a bit of a time bomb, that one, isn't it? Mike Swan says his programmer friend is very concerned because Chat's now writing software, so he has serious concerns over his future. There are certain jobs that there are going to be concerns. Ant Jones, AI is a tool for humans. It's a great tool to use for our advancement. Issues only arrive if AI decides it no longer needs humans to exist. Let's hope the controls sort that bit out.
Thanks, Ant. And Ant is part of Ghost, who are our sponsors, by the way, so a quick shout out. Thank you, Ant. That's useful.
Let's have a look. Talking about schools, interesting about I'm just trying to find the bit. I'm going to have to summarize it because I can't find the exact comment. But basically, the ability to, Stuart, the ability to apply knowledge and information and persevere are way more important than memorizing the knowledge. And I think, what you were saying, Andrew, I think those soft skills are going to become so much more important, because we can have the knowledge at our fingertips and we can ask the ChatGPT, all the information it needs. But if you haven't got those soft skills, the interactive skills, the communication, all the things that you do, train people in, we're going to find it a lot more difficult.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I set up PDX Consulting 20 years ago. I was way ahead of my time. Clearly, I was waiting for ChatGPT to come along. Great. Thanks, Sarah. Anything else you want to pick up? Say again, Julian?
Well, it's empathy, isn't it? So the ChatGPT cannot sort of understand the context of that human being, what that human being is going through, because it's not a human being.
Thankfully.
So again, to have empathy, for, to understand that, it is incredibly important. So it will never replace that.
Thank God for that. There we go. It'll never replace us as human beings. Anything
There
else,
you go.
Sarah, you want to finish with?
I would just say, Andrew, you are irreplaceable for the skills that you bring to the marketplace.
Brilliant. Yeah.
There is so much going on, and I think the underlying tone seems to be, yes, we recognise that the potential it has is immense, but there are also massive concerns as to how it's going to come and about what it's going to do to people's mental health, etc.
Yeah, as well as do the positive stuff like teaching creativity and soft skills and all of those things. So yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's bring back our scene here. So whoops, wrong one. Where am I? I wanted this one. Here we go. So thanks again, Julian. And we're going to start to head towards wrapping up the show. And just before we do that, here's your website for your. I've lost the website. I don't know why. What's happened there? Julian, just give us a shout out for your website. Oh, there it is. It's come. There it is. I thought it was there somewhere. So this is Julian's website, which the links will be in the feed here, and his apps on business to business and business to consumer health apps for the NHS, etc. Anything else you want to say about that?
No, I mean, yeah. If you want to connect with me, please do so on LinkedIn. Basically, the idea. Well, I'd say the platform is what we're doing is we're licensed. We're one of the major service suppliers to the NHS. So you can get therapy from the NHS that we then serve based on our platform and the network of clinicians that we have. We also do private therapy if people want to do that, and we also serve health insurers and businesses, so they refer to us. We're also now licensing our technology to other service providers so they can get the benefits of the platform with their sort of clinicians.
Yeah, thank you. I love this strapline of yours, helping people feel better faster. Perfect. I love that. That's just such a succinct strapline. We could learn such a lot from just those simple straplines. Brilliant. Love that. Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you. So, Julian, thanks for a really enlightening, extraordinary, playful conversation today. We've loved having you on the show. We've loved all the comments we've had this week from yourselves watching and listening, and thanks to Paul Palmer that he's now being able to watch and listen. So that's great news, and so thank you for that. Yeah, and please remember to subscribe to our Leaders Live email as well to get access to our Lead Well value and lots more benefits. And honestly, folks, this really does help us to grow and evolve the show, folks. We really appreciate you subscribing, so please do that. You'll see the website in the link very shortly. And Sarah or Marketing CX will put the links into the show. So, yeah, very quick. Where are we? So, quick reminder that Leaders Live is a free show, folks, for all directors, managers, and entrepreneurs who are interested in business growth through infotainment and enjoy taking part in interactive, extraordinary conversations like we've just had today. So together in this community, we aim to make the world better, folks, betterer folks through, even with the world of AI coming along, and we want a spirit of freedom, of joy, of fun, of creativity, and that feel-good factor in all of our working lives. And maybe ChatGPT will just give us more of that bandwidth, and who knows? So that would be really interesting too. I'm just going to do a quick shout out for what I do at Leaders Live, and something that I'm promoting at the moment is my high performance team development work. If you're a business leader who wants to achieve so much more success, if only you could cohere better as a team, but you don't know how to do that, then please get in touch with me and give me a call, and I can talk you through that and see how we can help you at PDX to create high performing teamwork in your business, so your spirit can shine through in your team and your business can benefit from that and make a dent in the universe. And why wouldn't you want to do something like that? So yeah, I'm busy developing some webinars to go with that as well, to take that to a deeper level, so you can understand how high performance team work can be implemented into your organization as well, with some hints and tips. So that's coming along in June. So those are sort of things that are happening then. And just before we get onto the Goosh for next week, let me just come on to Ghost, our sponsors. This is their trailer. Brilliant. So Ghost are a brand and design agency with an exceptional team of highly skilled and vibrant people that help develop and shape your brands to inspire your businesses, just like ours and just like yours. And so if you need any help with branding, they're the people to go to. They've certainly helped me with my branding. I've just lost out where I am. Here we go. And so a great shout out to Ghost, and thank you very much for being our sponsors. And the goose for next week, folks. The goose for next week is we're back to our usual Tuesday slot, and I'm so sorry about the other week when last week when we were trying to hang out with Tilly Davis, it all fell apart. But the good news is we've got Tilly Davis back in the room next week for a take 2 of our show that fell over last week. So fingers crossed that'll be all right. Well, we've had a good week this week, so I'm sure next week will be fine too. And our subject is LinkedIn magic, how to turn your leads into gold. Ooh, I wonder how ChatGPT will help out LinkedIn and things like that too. That'll be interesting. So, love it or hate it, use it or not, LinkedIn is the business tool of choice, folks. And, I'm a big advocate of that. And so are many of you on the show as well. And that's pretty much obvious unless you've been living under a rock. But love it or hate it. It's a bit like Marmite, but you've got to use it. And Tilly advocates stop wasting your time using LinkedIn as a CV or resume tool, and instead take a radical, different approach. Hooray! Thank you very much for the coffees, folks. Someone's bought me 2 coffees. I love you. Love you. Thank you very much. So Tilly says that people still don't know how to get the best out of LinkedIn and use it properly. So this is going to be a really interesting show. Some practical stuff coming along there, and just move Julian into the frame there. So we think you're going to love it. We can't wait. So be there or be square, folks. And we're going to close out with our outro banner now, and we're on time with our show, which is great. So thank you very much for joining, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. Thank you again, Dr. Julian, for a fantastic show. We're going to have to get you back on the show again to talk about the advancements in ChatGPT in the next few months. What do you think to that then, Julian? Putting you on the spot.
Sure. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Thank you. So in the meantime, I hope you have a great week, folks. Here's our outro video. We're going to wave goodbye to you right now. Thank you very much for joining into today's show, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday at 08:45, our usual slot. Thank you very much. Cheers for now. That's not the one I wanted to do. That's the one I wanted to do. There it is there. So thanks for watching, folks. This is our groovy show for this week, was with Dr. Julian Nesbitt talking about ChatGPT. We've loved having you all on the show. Thank you very much for coming. And we'll see you again next week for another awesome, fantastic, groovy show. Cheers for now, folks. See you now. We'll wave goodbye to you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everybody. Cheers for now. And there we go.